After I surprised her with a paid-off mortgage, my wife poured 2 glasses of wine and said, "I think it's time you meet the man I've been seeing." I had just handed her the letter from the bank showing 0 balance, 3 years of overtime shifts, skipped vacations, and eating lunch in my truck to save every dollar. I thought she would cry happy tears. Instead, she set down the letter without reading it and pulled out her phone. She dialed a number and put it on speaker. A man's voice answered on the second ring. "Is it done?" She looked at me and smiled. "He just paid off the house. You can come over now." I stood there holding the mortgage papers while my entire world collapsed. The man on the phone laughed and said he would be there in 10 minutes. She hung up and took a sip of wine like we were discussing dinner plans. His name was Gregory, and he walked into my house like he owned it. He shook my hand and thanked me for being such a hard worker. My wife explained that they had been together for 2 years, and that the plan was always to wait until the house was paid off before she filed for divorce. She said the state we lived in split assets 50-50, and that she would be entitled to half the equity I had just created. Gregory put his arm around her shoulder and told me I seemed like a nice guy who deserved to know the truth. I asked them both to leave my house. My wife laughed and reminded me that her name was on the deed too. She said I could sleep in the basement if I wanted, but she and Gregory were taking the master bedroom. I grabbed my keys and walked out to my truck because I could not breathe in that house anymore. I drove to my brother's apartment and told him everything. He worked in family law and his face got darker with every word I said. He told me to go back home and act normal while he did some research. The next morning I returned and found Gregory making breakfast in my kitchen. He offered me eggs and called me roommate. My wife was upstairs getting ready for work, and she came down wearing a necklace I had never seen before. Gregory kissed her goodbye and whispered something that made her laugh. I smiled and told them both to have a great day. The moment they left, I started searching. I found a folder hidden in the back of her closet with bank statements from an account I never knew existed. For 18 months, she had been transferring $300 every week from our joint savings into this hidden account. The total was over $23,000. I photographed every page and sent them to my brother. He called me an hour later and told me to keep digging. I found credit card statements with hotel charges and restaurant bills that happened on nights she told me she was visiting her mother. I found receipts for jewelry I had never seen her wear. Then I found the emails. She had been forwarding herself copies of all my financial documents for over a year. Pay stubs, tax returns, investment accounts, everything. There was a thread between her and Gregory discussing how to maximize what she could take from me. He called me a sucker. She called me a paycheck. The last email was dated 3 days before I paid off the mortgage, and it said the timing could not be more perfect. My brother filed an emergency motion the next week. We presented evidence of hidden assets, financial fraud, and premeditated dissipation of marital funds. The judge froze all accounts pending investigation. My wife called me screaming that I had ruined everything and that Gregory was furious. I told her she should have picked a smarter partner. 3 days later, Gregory moved out because he said he did not sign up for legal drama. My wife showed up at my brother's office crying and begging to negotiate. She said she would drop everything if I just gave her the house. My brother slid a folder across the table containing copies of every email, every hidden bank statement, and every lie she had told under oath in her initial filings. She turned white and asked for a moment alone with her attorney. Her attorney read the documents and then asked to speak with her in the hallway. We heard yelling through the door. The final hearing lasted 4 hours. My wife's attorney tried to argue that I had invaded her privacy by accessing her hidden accounts. The judge asked if she was seriously claiming privacy protection for funds stolen from a joint marital account. Her attorney had no response. The judge reviewed the emails where she discussed waiting for me to pay off the mortgage before filing. He read aloud the message where Gregory called me a sucker. My wife started crying and said she never meant for things to go this far. The judge looked at her and said intent was irrelevant when the evidence showed calculated financial abuse over 18 months. He awarded me the house, full equity, and reimbursement for every dollar she had hidden. She was ordered to pay my legal fees. Gregory tried to sue me for defamation after I posted the emails online. His case was dismissed because truth is an absolute defense. My wife moved into a studio apartment, and last I heard she was working double shifts at a call center. I kept the house, refinanced it in my name only, and used the money she stole to build a deck in the backyard. My brother helped me find a good therapist, and I started dating again after a year. I learned that some people see love as a transaction, and others see it as something you build together. She texts me sometimes asking if we can talk. I never respond.